Across the sun now. Across the sun now.
Agriculture is 80% of our economy in Kenya. So I can advise them to do agricultural courses.
They take the agricultural courses.
Yeah, they take the agricultural courses.
Iko pesa.
Iko pesa.
Oh, umeona pesa. Lakini unajua wewe ni mwana biashara bana.
Yeah. Iko pesa.
Make a date with me every Monday to Friday, 7:15 to 9:15 in the morning here at the Farmers Media, the breakfast show. Let us start the day right here. This is Noana Sia. Welcome to today's breakfast show from the Farmers Media. This is your host Noana Sia Kadima. Always a pleasure to be with you here today and to discuss different challenges, different opportunities, but most importantly, how do we improve the livelihoods of smallholder farmers across sub-Saharan Africa, but at the same time, how do we make sure that those who are trading, those who are offering services, products, and solutions to smallholder farmers are understood. Some of the opportunities that we have seen are basically in the digital space, especially the digital agricultural space, the digital extension services, which is playing a very vital role in how we can be able to access information that is credible, reliable, and unbiased, so that you and me as farmers in Africa can be able to succeed and make sure that we get our income straight from what we do, but most importantly, to be able to transform our minds from being producers into businessmen and businesswomen. Welcome to today's breakfast show, where we will be talking about what are some of the lucrative opportunities that are out there in agribusiness. But before that, let me tell you guys a certain story that my dad once told me. So my dad told me one day that you should never go back home hungry. You should never go back home hungry. And why? How did that come about? I think we were walking with my dad one evening when I think I was around 13 years old or younger. And he told me that it was around in the evening, around 6:30 in the evening, 7ish there. And so we sat somewhere and ate something small. And I asked Daddy, but Daddy, we're going to eat at home. And he told me, my son, never go back to your house hungry. I thought about this for quite some time, but as a young person, it skipped your mind and you just continue. But looking at it many years later, one of the things that really struck me with that statement was the fact that you should never go anywhere when you are hungry. But that is the challenge of Africans across Africa, the citizens of Africa, and more importantly, even the citizens of the global south. Food is not easily accessible. Food that is healthy, affordable, and nutritious is not easily accessible. And the reason for this is because some of the policies that have been set are not being implemented fully. Some of the opportunities that are there in agriculture, especially agribusiness, are limited to specific people who might not even have an idea of what they should be doing. The other thing is that there's a lot of hype in the industry. There's a lot of hype, and sometimes people fall prey to this. We have seen great opportunities that have been overhyped, and people invested wrongly at the wrong time, just like any other investment that people do. And this other challenges also come in things like transport and affordable transport and logistics services for smallholder farmers, which I'll be talking about later on in the show. Markets, access to markets, access to good markets, access to buyers who buy produce from farmers directly, store them well. Those are some of the challenges that are there, and this is causing nightmares to smallholder farmers across Africa. But so using that just like that example, why you should never go somewhere hungry is because sometimes you become angry because of being hungry, and the opportunities that are there in agribusiness are enormous, and we'll be talking about them today as an introductory, getting to understand what are some of these lucrative opportunities, not high, but lucrative opportunities that are out there. We'll be talking about it. But before we jump into the discussion of today, we have a few things that we'd like to talk about. One of them is the weather pattern. We see the weather pattern that is already out there, if you can see that. We see today's weather in a few counties that we'll be looking at. So Nairobi, starting with Nairobi, we see cloudy and sunny intervals, highs of 23, lows of 13. We see, we travel all the way to Nyanza, that is Western Kenya. We see Kisumu has highs of 28 and lows of 19. We see Kakamega has highs of 27 and lows of 17 with rains and sunny intervals. Kakamega always amazes me, the weather pattern there. And then we go all the way to Eldoret. On our way back, we see highs of 22 and lows of 12 degrees. Rains and sunny intervals there in Eldoret. And then as we come back, let's see if we can go through towards the northern parts of the country. That is Marsabit County, one of my favorite counties, highs of Garissa, highs of 34, really hot, and lows of 22 degrees. If we go get to Lodwar, the opposite side, that is highs of 34 and lows of 12 degrees, sunny intervals throughout the day. We see Mandera, highs of 34 degrees, Mandera, Garissa. Lodwar, the weather has gone back to normal. That is, and when it's really hot like this, there are very little activities you can do in the farm, by the way. Apart from land preparation, there's very little you can do. You cannot spray, you cannot, probably scouting very early in the morning or late in the evening. So when you're seeing such kind of weather, it's always good to rehydrate yourself at least, and make sure that the plants in the farm, if you have them, or animals have a shed, the plants have being watered well so that we don't lose these crops there. And then, but this is also perfect weather for crops like chilies, capsicum, sunflower, things like watermelon. They enjoy this hot weather. So we go down to Makindu, way back, actually before Makindu, we go to Malindi, that is highs of 28 degrees and lows of 23. It's very interesting that the coastal town has really high temperatures, but it has close to Malindi also we have Lamu, which has 29 degrees and highs of 29 and lows of 24 with sunny intervals. This coming back down to Makindu, here we see 27 degrees, highs of 27, lows of 16. Very interesting weather that we actually seeing now. This again weather has been brought to you by courtesy of Kenya Meteorological Department, that is kenyameteo.go.ke. However, in the next few days, we will be introducing you to another source of weather that is reliable, especially for you as a farmer, and we'll be telling you much more about this in the course of this week. We'll be introducing it, and we'll be telling you much more about how to get proper weather with some of these activities that we are actually engaging in. So keep it locked for that particular one. So now let's jump into some of the local dailies and see some of the information that is out there. And one of the things that we are seeing, obviously, that is standing out is the two different things that are very interesting here. We see the political situation being, I think, slightly coming to normal, and what we are seeing also is the fact that we see what is it called? We see there's an interesting story about a container with empty wine bottles. a container has very interesting. Then we see the story that is continuing to unfold about Niger closing the airspace over the threat of intervention, and then we see very interesting thing that we're seeing here from our parliamentarians. They're actually saying that there is a simpler and cheaper way for couples to divorce, that is by mutual consent. Then some very interesting thing we see also in the local dailies. Something that caught my attention, that is in the standard news, in the national newspaper, that why is it increasingly necessary to stimulate entrepreneurship among the youth? Very interesting discussion there. And then so we jump into the. By the way, on the 19th of August, there's a very interesting story I'll tell you guys tomorrow about the Club Kiboko Festival. I'll be telling you about it. So that's an interesting thing. We see that now we jump straight into the standard newspaper. We see in the standard newspaper, it looks like there's no more, there's no end in sight for thumping as Ruto and Raila teams plan to meet. Very interesting how Nyanza governors plan to spend your billions. I think the news is normally very interesting, but there's one article that I saw is going around social media is the issue about this home care for elderly people in a certain region. This story was actually brought up by the BBC Africa Eye, and it was very interesting how they are being actually reminded that it's in Thogoto, where the elderly are being beaten, canned. They're missing food. They're losing their lives. It's crazy, So some of these stories are just sad. The other thing is, it's in Thogoto, yes, actually, yeah. And then another story that also was a really saddening story of this lady, a mother whose death was discovered 9 months after she died, and yet the son has been sending money through every month to her. I am very funny incident. Then to the family of the Nyamira MCA who died in a road accident. My mind is crazy. I don't even like going there. Now let us tell us something. If you're watching, let us know what is the price of food. Has the price of food reduced? We're seeing some of the price of food. Sometimes men are very interesting because every evening there's normally a message that comes through or pass through the supermarket and buy some stuff. But these prices of these things has really shot up. And one of the reasons, also the dollar, we've seen the dollar exchange has gone up to 150. I'm actually pitting the guys who are exporting right now or even importing. It's crazy time out there right now, unless you have worked your figures right. Let's jump into Kenya Agri. That is, it's a news that actually brought by Kenya East Africa Industries Limited. We see a very interesting story where you can be able to get cow mats, you can get milking equipment, goat and pig products and sheep, calf rearing products. And I'll tell you guys about another story. I think it's being prepared, which will be a few weeks from now. A few days from now, we'll be getting a story about a dairy farmer in Kitengela, which is very interesting. Fantastic. So let us go back into something that I was thinking we wanted to discuss about. This is just like, sorry. What are these lucrative opportunities that are out there in agriculture? What are these things that, for example, we'll be looking at and saying, wow, this is an interesting thing. But before even looking at that lucrative, why do you then jump into agriculture? What is the importance of actually getting into agriculture? What do you understand about it? Let us know what you think about this particular discussion that we're having right now. And one of the ways that I've seen that is very important for us to actually look at critically is the fact that apart from the normal way of doing things, the normal aspect of saying, I'm going to get done in a certain format, there's so much that we have to look at. There's so many opportunities we have to really look at. And some of these things that I have seen for myself is the fact that you cannot make money if you don't invest in money. But even apart from just making money, or how do you calculate money? I like writing notes for those who know me. and today I'll scribble something on that showcase. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. There are two kind of costs. I'll do this. I'll write something bigger and then and explain that. So if you can see that what I've written there is called capex. What I've written there is called capex. That is capital expenses. And so if you look at the capital expenses, what are these capital expenses that are out there? So if you can look at that and see, so these are capital expenses. So capital expenses are costs that you incur, heavy costs, heavier investment that you incur. And on the flip side, I'll just write on the flip side of what the other one is actually capex. OPEX. Yeah. So there's capex and there's OPEX. So I'll tell you guys what this is. So capex is actually the capital expenses that you incur as a farmer or any other business. So these are capital expenses. These are things for farm setup. This would be things like drip irrigation. This would be things like tanks, structures in your farm, animal structures, things like buying irrigation equipment, things like buying if you're doing livestock. I was being told yesterday that I rarely talk about livestock, my friend. If the character development I have actually got as a farmer is in livestock, I actually have them just to see, to enjoy them. When they start giving birth, I enjoy carrying them and naming them probably. But nilitokea huko kabisa. I said no, that is not my line. I will not continue doing it, and I kept off totally. But something that is very interesting to note is actually the fact that the capex is something that most farmers calculate without proper guidance. So you find a farmer who wants to lease land, an acre, and is going to invest capex of 1 million shillings. Capex, you can only recover your capex, your capital expenses, at least 3 years. Because drip irrigation is good enough for around 3 years if you get pretty good quality. If you get better quality, you can do it go as long as 5 years. But my reasoning for this, bringing this before talking about the lucrative opportunities that are out there in agriculture, is the fact that when we look at things like drip irrigation, why then should you lease land, an acre of land, for 1 year, and you do and invest a capital expense of more than 500,000 shillings? It's better you just lease land and you don't have to install, or lease land that already has drip irrigation. Pay it for them, even if it's monthly, a certain amount of money, so that by the end of that year, you can know whether or not to be able to invest heavy and get a longer lease. When it comes to now things like, and then now you have to put down that really well. One of my colleagues, who is also the Evening Farm Drive host, that is Duncan, will be sharing with us in the next few days how to start calculating your costs in the farm. It's a very special show that we'll be actually looking at how to do your mathematics as a farmer in Africa. I was talking to a friend of mine and said we should stop talking about smallholder farmers, because the moment you mention small, then the mindset already goes down. So for farmers in Africa, how can we make sure that our numbers are right? And then, so when we go quickly to OPEX, the operational expenses, these are now operational expenses, things like fertilizer, things like water bills, things like your chemical sprays, organic sprays, things like labor, things that money that you need to do to make sure that your capital expense then works or multiplies. These are like casual labor, stuff like that. So one of the things that you need to do as a farmer is to distinguish these two: the capital expenses, capex, what I like calling capex, and the OPEX, operational expenses, that then help you as a farmer calculate whether your P&L, your profits and losses, so that you see. And with that in mind, that's why now it helps you get to understand that this then is something that you can look at. So uh, today I'll talk about around 20 in general, and then in the show that will be coming in, being guided, is that we will now delve into these topics in detail. So one of the things that we'll be talking about today will be something very interesting that I'd like to share with you more about that as well. So one of the things that we'll be talking about is something very interesting here today. The farming opportunities that are out there, but not just the farming opportunities. Quite a number of stuff that we look at sometimes and don't understand whether or not it is possible to do this. So some of these things are sometimes easy for us to remember, but some are not as easy as for us to remember. So today, as I start this thing, first of all, is to look at what is agribusiness, and when you look at agribusiness, what opportunities are out there. But I want to request you to please don't look at these opportunities with greed, because it comes with its own experiences, its own shortcomings and things like that. So what are these things, that are very interesting to look at? Sometimes it's a very interesting opportunity that we want to share out today. So 20 potential opportunities in agribusiness. So just a way of mentioning them, and then we'll get in there deeper. So we have crop farming, which is a very interesting thing. That is basically horticulture. Then we have livestock farming. I've told you my character development actually came through livestock. I'll tell you guys the experience of that as well. Fish farming is something else that is there. Horticulture, as we've mentioned. So there's crop farming, which is things like maize, stuff like that. Then there's basically the other aspects of it, in terms of fruits and things like that. Then we have agro-processing. Agro-processing is a very interesting bit of it, value addition and stuff like that. Then we have organic farming. We have agri-tourism, which is fantastic. One of the most important things that you as a farmer can be able to do to generate extra revenue from your farming activities. Then we also have the agri-input supplies that will be there. We'll talk about that as well. Agri-export trading, that is a very interesting thing that we've seen between different markets. We have the agricultural equipment leasing, which is also something that we don't look at it. So when you talk about we are in farming, we're in agribusiness and all that, most of the time I think we think about the farming aspect on the farm, but we don't look at this. We also have the beekeeping, that is apiculture and honey production, which is also a very interesting opportunity. Yes, some little medium to heavy investments, but something that you can get into. We have snail farming. We've seen some people doing it. We have the agri-tech solutions that are out there as well. We have the greenhouse farming. My colleagues discussed that in detail a few days back. Then we have something that is also very lucrative, that is seed production. We have agroforestry. We have agricultural consultancy. We have palm oil production. So these are just some of the things. So we will get into this in detail to get to understand what this is all about and what we do. So you as a farmer, remember this is a Farmers Media Breakfast Show. Your host Noah Nasieli Kadima. And as we talk about these 20 potential opportunities in agribusiness and lucrative ways to do this, when I was given this topic, it was a very interesting time, and then I realized when I was doing the research, I realized that there's a lot of information that farmers don't have, but there's also a lot of information that people who would like to get into agriculture do not have, because then you don't have to be that farmer. There's also one opportunity that I've not mentioned, I've not even talked about it here. This is actually something to do with the youth who already studied agriculture. Whatever you are you're doing in agriculture, and when it comes to the youth, we have brilliant people. We have some very brilliant young people doing tremendous work. Something. I have a friend of mine. I don't know. Let me just mention her today. I have a friend of mine who really inspired me when I visited her farm in Juja, that is in central Kenya, and she understood what she was doing. She's called Wanjiru Njoroge. Wanjiru, if you're watching, big up. She understood what she was doing, and actually one of the things that I keep on saying that if we were to start some of the programs that we did before, this is just one of the people who would be able to. I'd really love to work with again. There's also a friend of mine so she understands the traditional vegetables farming, the concept, the idea behind what transport looks like to the market. Challenges that farmers face. This is a farmer who has faced challenges firsthand, and gone around it, always putting a smile on her face to very interesting as well. Some of the people who actually gave me hope as I keep on farming. There's also another friend of mine all the way from Sierra. She's called Frida. Frida motivates me and so many other farmers by just what she does. She does fish farming, she does tomato farming, she does vegetables. Very interesting concept. Never gives up. There's some other time, sometime last year, she lost. So, hey, I mean the resilience that is out there is interesting. So when you look at these opportunities are available for you to be able to continue succeeding, but you have to look at things from a certain angle. You have to get some certain lens and look through what you're discussing about agriculture. Agriculture is not the only. The actual farming in the farm is not the only thing that you can say in agriculture or agribusiness. There's so many opportunities that we've seen. And let us know by following our social media handles. Remember to follow us on social media and get to understand what are these challenges that are there. And those challenges will never stop. It just moves from one person to another one. Yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues here and explaining to them how there's a farmer who called me one day and told me that they've been given a contract to plant pumpkin, malenge. And it was a very interesting discussion because then later on we realized that they're just being caught. So whatever opportunity that is out here in agriculture, always know that you have to do your two things. You have to understand what your capital expense is and what your operational expenses are. Because then you can be able to make a decision. Because you're investing, you're putting in money into something. So just make sure that whatever you're doing is something that reflects back. Your failure will not be a failure, but it will be a lesson on what did you not just do right completely. And your success will not be the top. Remember, the highest point you reach is the bottom of another step. So if it's a success, document and ask yourself what went on right. For example, a while back, there was something very interesting that I learned is I planted watermelon, and the initial time, the first time I planted watermelon, the yield was very poor. Very poor. Everything just didn't go right. But the next time I did it very carefully. And one of a good friend of mine who really helped me is called we call him General Samuel Gasheru from Stakayas. He actually was with us on the farm when we were planting. And it was a very interesting time because we learned so much, even how to plant the seeds, what side of the seed goes in and what side remains up, the depth of planting. Sometimes we just decide to plant. When you come and say, you give the farm workers, tell them, "Mepanda yo, yeah, mepanda," and then you realize that there's so much that you should have done right before even the planting bit, soaking the seeds to reduce the dormancy level. So when it comes to the actual planting of the crops, if you want to do it really well. I want to, before we go for a break, there's a saying that I'll repeat for the rest of this show today, is actually, before you find what you want to do, before you find out what you want to do, make the most of what you can find. And when you start doing what you can find, do it with all your might and your mind. Do it so well, because you survive by working, but you impact by hard work. So as we discuss this about the lucrative opportunities that are out there in agriculture, we're talking about the 20 of them. We'll be diving into deep about this. Remember to stay tuned here at the Farmers, where we help you connect, learn, and grow. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss more about this.
Across the sun now, across the sun now.
Smart farmers know savings are important. They can help you through hard times, like when you have poor yields, or help when buying inputs in the new season, paying your labor, or if you want to start planting a crop you have not grown before. Work out how much you can afford to save each month and stick to it. If you can make extra money, add it to your savings. Say for example you need 20,000 shillings for the next planting season. Plan to save 5,000 shillings each month for 4 months. Think about where you'll keep the money that you are saving. Bank is a good option. Your money will be safe, and if you keep it there for long, you can make interest. Remember, some bank accounts you have to pay for, so try to find one that's free. Keeping your money on your mobile phone is also good.
Across the sun now, across the sun now.
Welcome back to a Farmer's Breakfast Show right here from County 034, where we have been talking about farming and lucrative ways to make money in farming. A very interesting morning today, and when I say it is interesting, is because the fact that many times we ask, how do you make money in agriculture? What are the opportunities that are out there to make money in agriculture? Sometimes we forget and say and think that making money is an easy thing. It's not an easy thing, by the way. Making money is one of the hardest things to do. That's why people go to school to learn how to make money. But now, since people go to school to make money, you don't have to go to school. Especially in agriculture, you don't have to go and study agriculture. Just tune in to Farmers Media and we'll tell you more about it. So, as we jump in, some of the things that we want to look at is we want to actually go deeper into the discussion that we've had. That we've had, and yes. So again, as we mentioned, 20 potential ways of making money in agriculture. So let us jump in, dive deep inside. As I talk about this, I'll also share some of the experiences that I've had in the industry. Quite challenging, quite challenging, I can tell you for sure. But it is, when I talk about it being challenging, it's not that it was difficult. It was just that I didn't have enough information. I remember when I started farming, there was very, very little information that was out there. I remember at some point, I actually even had to, this farming has taught us many things. One of the things that I did is that I actually bought a farming guide for $25, 2,500 shillings then. It was the most expensive thing that I bought that was not directly involved in farming. It was not seed, it was not fertilizer. At that time, it was even more expensive than fertilizer, than one of the fertilizers that I kept on using. So what are some of these ways that you can be able to make money in agriculture? One of them is crop farming. So the actual crop farming. So I start that because that's basic. So the actual crop farming is something that you can make a lot of money in. But there's so many things that you also have to consider before that money comes. I'm not saying you have to fail many times. Sometimes we assume that yes, you have to fail for you to succeed. No, that is a lie. Nobody should ever lie that to you. The biggest lie that we've been told that you have to fail to succeed. No, you just need to learn. You need to learn from the right sources. And there's no way, and there's no need actually for us here at Farmers Media to have learned so much, share with you, and you still go and fail. No, it means that you don't tune into our channel, you don't watch. So make sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel. It's coming back fresh. Remember we had that YouTube channel that was taken down because of copyright. And these things, you learn things many ways. Yeah? However, one of the important things that for you to consider is actually is crop farming. So crop farming, we're talking about things like maize, rice, wheat, soybeans, vegetables, both for local and export. But let's look at, first of all, local. And if you're doing local traditional vegetables, by the way, you need to tune in and follow some very good friends of mine called Lynn and Fiona. They have a product called Nature's Best, and Nature's Best is doing an amazing job. And they're actually changing how you see traditional vegetables. They've packaged it really well. Nature's Best doing an amazing job there. So if you are watching, make sure you write this down, Nature's Best, and follow them, and you'll get really inspired on traditional vegetables. So as we do these vegetables, crop farming, one of the key aspects of crop farming is soil. And we can never stop talking about soil. Actually, we'll be having some activities that will be helping us mark the World Soil Day later on in the year. We'll be communicating that on our channel and our website as well. You'll be able to see that. So soil is very important. So it means that when you have to do soil farming, you've prepared your soil really well. You made sure that you tested your soil, got the recommendations, understood what the recommendations look like. When you get these recommendations, then you put down on paper and say, okay, fine, so this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where we are supposed to get it right. And getting it right is by knowing that which is the right, what is your soil type, what are the nutrients available for your soil, what crops can do well in your soil type, apart from just the crops, the specific varieties. And I'll tell you for sure, for those who are watching, you can have tomatoes, but there are very many types of varieties of tomatoes that might work well for your farm or might not work well for your farm. The other day I was talking to a friend of mine who I learned so much from, and she asked me, I've never seen you doing tomatoes, my friend. Another character development, tomato farming. But we're not saying that it is wrong. You just need to know when not to harvest tomatoes. But that is what I was actually told. You just need to know when not to harvest tomatoes. When not to harvest tomatoes is when it is hot and it is 4 months after the rains. 3 to 4 months after the rains, don't even make a mistake of harvesting tomatoes at that time. And that means that you're not a rain-fed farmer, automatically. So if you're to invest in farming and make money, you need to know when not to harvest some specific crops. Tomatoes, onions, watermelon. You need to know when not to harvest those ones. Things like maize, beans, wheat, rice, you can harvest anytime, store them really well, and sell in the future. But things like tomatoes, pilipili hoho, capsicum, things like onions, things like watermelon, you need to know when not to harvest so that you make money. We're not farming because we're making farming emotional decisions. We need to make financial decisions. And one of these things that I've seen in particular is the fact that things like tomatoes, like now, tomatoes are too many in the market. A few weeks back, they were not tomatoes because people are not started harvesting. And I'm telling you for sure, you need to call somebody in Rombo, in Loitoktok, in Moya, Kirinyaga. If they are about to harvest tomatoes, my friend, it's better even you sell to them, they sell for you. Because that is the biggest challenge that you're going to have in the market. So when you tested your soil, identify which variety is good, which crop does well for their soil type. I've seen some farmers going and bringing soil from other places and putting on their farm. What for? Just test your soil. Use the recommendations based on what nutrients are available. If it's to add the whatever it is, add so that people can be able to see that. So that your soil can be able to improve whatever nutrients that you need to add. But don't go and import soil. But even farmers sometimes we make very interesting decisions. So let's jump into the next bit. That is livestock farming. Livestock farming is something that is very important. You can actually make good money from livestock farming. I have done in the past, but also regretted because I did not manage it well. I didn't have the science, the technicalities about livestock farming. So livestock farming, there are two ways of doing it. Again, as I said, we'll be sharing some information about a certain farmer. It's called Mr. Mbudia, right behind, not far from here, where he'll be sharing with us his story about dairy farming. So dairy farming is something that is really lucrative if you manage it well. The secret behind livestock farming is feeds, and we're really excited to having seen in the finance bill, as much as it is being hit, the zero rated livestock feed has been zero rated, so no taxation in the livestock feed, which is really nice. The biggest headache for any livestock farmer is feeds, because these things just eat. They all day they sit, eat, and water. So those two things are very critical for them. And then also get a good vet. We also forgot that, but we mentioning about crop farming is an aspect that we've left out. So make sure that you identify a good vet who understands your goals as a livestock farmer, and will be able to guide you in terms of which are the best breeds for your area where you are, or how can you work on even the structures, if you're doing poultry, if you're doing things like beef cattle, if you're doing goats, sheep, which are the best breeds for the area that you are in, what are their requirements, for example, things like feeding requirements, how much food do they need to eat over what period, something that is very, very, very important to note. So when you're doing livestock farming, one of the ways you can look at is, now you need to look at, are you doing it for multiplication? So for multiplication, I mean, if you're doing poultry, do you want to expand your to increase the number of poultry that you have in terms of chicken, things like turkey, things like ducks, stuff like that, so that you select a breed that can be able to serve that purpose. I remember some time back, I went and ordered chicken, and then I got there. This life is not for everyone. So one of the things that I looked at is the fact that I went and got a breed and put chicken, 200 of them, and I knew in probably 6 months they will start laying eggs. I even got an incubator, and so that's when they start getting the chicks, when they start getting the eggs, then I will put them in the incubator, and with the incubator, then I'll multiply and start selling day-old chicks. My friend, I ate them. I ate the chicken because these things were demanding in terms of feed. They were eating. Oh. There's nothing hard like keeping broiler and layers. These things feed. They feed. When you enter feeding them, they look at you like this. They don't even run. They look at you like this. They want food. So when you're doing something like poultry, you have to make sure that you are able to get affordable feeds for you, for your chicken, and most importantly, when you're doing this, then you realize that there's so much that you need to consider. So livestock farming is not just livestock farming. Feeds when it comes to livestock farming, feeds, hygiene, water come first. It is better you even get feed for the next 3 months before you buy your first cow. I'm telling you for sure. I have seen farmers really suffering. The past drought was crazy. A neighbor of mine lost close to 150 to 200 goats. It was really sad to see that, but it's because about feeds. So as much as it is a lucrative opportunity, you have to consider some specific things. Talk to the experts. Talk to experts. Go and visit farmers who are doing this. Don't exist in your own cocoon. Don't exist in your own kingdom and think I'm the king of my kingdom. Go and meet other kings and other queens out there, my friend, and you'll realize you don't know anything. And once you step out, and that was one of the motivations why I started visiting farmers. And as of now, I've visited 4,996 different farmers. I'm telling you, I have learned so much. I've been humbled. I reach a certain farmer and I sit down like a class 1 child and listen. And that way then I've got to understand so much. Okay? Like tomorrow we'll be visiting a certain farmer who came into Kenya, understood what needs to be done, has invested, has failed several times, but has invested, and we'll be sharing that story. Actually, on Friday, we'll be sharing that story on Friday. And something else, when you're doing livestock, you need to ask yourself again: are you doing for production, or are you doing, for example, if you're doing beef farming, you're keeping cattle for beef, then you need to ask yourself, what are the best breeds for the region that I am in? What does the market demand? What does the market look like? What does the market want? If you are keeping cows for dairy, then you need to ask yourself, what are the things that you need to consider? What quantities make sense? Having one cow giving you 20 liters, you have to spend 1,000 shillings to go to the market to sell the milk. That make economic sense, you know. So you have to look at, again, as I mentioned earlier, you have to look at your capex, your capital expense, and your opex, your operational expenses, so that you know where your profits come in, where your losses come in as well. Something that another thing that is also very lucrative that I have seen farmers enjoying and making money from, and as I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine called Frida Okech, is fish farming. It has its own fair share of sad news, where you get fingerlings and they die before you start, or somebody comes and steals the fish. But I've seen this working really well. I've seen either you're doing you're doing catfish, or you're doing tilapia, or any other species that you're going to keep when you're doing fish farming. It has its own fair share of challenges, but for you to learn more about this, write this down, go and see a friend of mine called Frida Okech, who has actually even gone ahead and wants to study and get to understand much more about fish farming. Very interesting that when you do this, then you realize that there's a lot of information that is out there. Remember, we've just touched on 3: crop farming, that is normal vegetables, maize and stuff like that. Then livestock farming. And livestock farming, there's so much. There's beef, there's goats. You need to ask yourself, are you putting the Galana goats? Are you putting the goats for multiplication? Are you putting with the sheep? There's also sheep. What is the reasoning behind you investing in a farming, an agribusiness venture? So that will help you answer some of those questions. And you have to answer those questions. You have to answer those questions either with an expert or yourself. You need to ask yourself, why do you want to invest in what you're investing in? Something that the next thing that we also want to get into is the floriculture. That is something else, the summer flowers, or even flowers in the greenhouses. It is an expensive venture. It is something that you don't just walk in and get in your farm and plant. You have to do so much. You have to make sure that you're understanding the technicalities behind the flower industry. Go to some of this. You know, sometimes I wonder with farmers that you want to get into a farming activity. You have never visited a farmer. You have never gone to even some of the agricultural events that are out there to learn and get to know what is happening. Information is powerful. And you know, even the Holy Book says that people will perish because of lack of knowledge. Go out there. And you cannot get into business and you don't know that industry. So if you don't know that industry, don't complain that somebody has conned you. Go out there and understand, immerse yourself into the knowledge. It is better to have as much knowledge. You see, people say they are also Christian, but they've never read the Bible, but they have it. So get that knowledge, understand how it is. Look at opportunities that are out there. How do you package these opportunities? How do you change whatever you are seeing? What do you want to do it? And I remember I've said, to survive is hard work. To survive is working. To impact even your own life, into even your customers and stuff like that, is now hard work. Hard work means go and get the information, make the right information. I've seen some farmers confusing operational costs, the OPEX that we're talking about with CAPEX. You know, when you meet with farmers and they say, you know, I invested drip irrigation, I invested tanks, I did all these things for my farm, and you ask them, where was your farm? I was leasing 1 acre for 1 year. That is a problem, big problem. So now let's talk about things like export. You know, fruits, vegetables. I'm telling you, that is a totally different ballgame. That is a different industry on its own. Don't get into that industry if you don't know. Let me tell you a story. I went and started French beans farming. Yes, my friends, the location of the farm was not even the best. I started doing it when it was dry. I'm telling you, it rained. That was not far, just here in Kamuli. It rained, the time it rained and it started raining. I was happy, that it's raining, we're not pumping water from the river anymore. My friends, the road to the tarmac, just from the farm to the tarmac, was 13 kilometers. During harvesting, we had to get a tractor that has a carrier behind for the ladies to be brought to the farm. We hired the tractor for the whole day so that in the evening it carries the ladies plus the produce. My friend, it was so challenging to the extent that I left that French beans in the farm. Taking the French beans to the exporter was another whole different thing, because now the transporters, they normally come with a pickup or a truck. It cannot reach the farm. So what happened is that now I had to go all the way to the airport. I used to be at the airport like at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. taking French beans. You have to make sure that it's being weighed, it's being graded before you leave. It was a total nightmare. So when you're doing things for export, growing crops for export, you need to understand that market. You need to understand what are the demands, where it is your location from the farm to where the exporter is coming from, or if you're exporting yourself, where are you sourcing this from? You have to understand basic things like, for example, the licenses, phytosanitary licenses that are there, packaging requirements. I was talking to a friend of mine who I've actually told you guys to go and follow, Lean. And Lean was telling me that they didn't know that when it comes to exporting cooked vegetables, the demand is high. Now imagine raw vegetables. You know, there's testing of very many things are tested. You know, things like maximum residue levels, just basic things. You know, things like PHI, what are the chemical that is still in the crops. So when you get into this, we are talking about 20 potential lucrative opportunities in agribusiness. However, you also need to do some work. So as we mentioned, for us here at Farmers, what we do best is that we make sure that you get the best information. As you can see behind me, we help you connect, learn, and grow. So that connection is what is very important. It's where you're building your networks, getting to understand what is happening, where it's happening, and who is doing this and who, you know. So let us now get into another aspect of it, which again I've mentioned. If you look for Nature's Best, Lynn and Fiona, very good friends of mine, I call them my small sisters. They are doing an amazing thing, and that is now agro-processing value addition of whatever we are actually looking at. So it's basically adding value to whatever it is. So it's vegetables, dry the vegetables, preserve them, you can sell, pre-cook and sell. It's also a demanding bit. It's a very big demanding bit. Another good friend of mine who does that for honey, and she does it for honey as well as groundnuts. Leadership Connie, if you're on social media, go and visit and follow her. Quite interesting insights in terms of trade. How do you trade? Where these opportunities are out there? Someone else also who does some really good job is Apicultural Ventures. That is Pauline. Pauline does an amazing job training farmers, installing the beehives and all that. Also get to understand, where do I need to put my beehives? For example, I got beehives, and it was a very interesting scenario. Really lucrative. Got the figures, and I was excited about the figures. When I put the beehives, then I forgot that there's something called the honey badger. So I put beehives, some of them around 30, some of them are colonized, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm excited that, we're going to get honey. All of a sudden, the honey badger comes before us and automatically hits the beehives, and we lost everything. So now we're in the process of actually repairing, and we'll be sharing some of these stories as well. Something that is also demanding right now, it is demanding, but it's a 50-50 kind of opportunity. Is organic farming. Organic farming is something that is a very interesting opportunity that is out there. But when you talk about organic farming, what else then do you need to consider? You need to ask yourself, where am I doing this organic farming? It has a very niche market, a very small market. We all want to eat organic. That's what we always say. But is it available? What are the pricing like? Where do you sell? Because you cannot sell this organic in any other market. There's specific markets, locations that people will buy, so that you look at your figures. You cannot get a really 14 kilo watermelon that has been grown organically. I know that one, people can challenge that, but I have tried. I'm telling you, I tried doing organic farming in farm throughout, and I said no chemicals for a certain period. But my motivation was because the chemicals are very expensive, nothing else. What happened is that when I did the organic farming, let me tell you, the pests that were coming to the farm, the insects, they were eating on my crops like the way kids eat ice cream. They eat and eat and eat until you are like, hey. In fact, what I did, I just brought a tractor those days. Before I knew the story behind the zero to minimum tillage, I brought a tractor. It just plowed everything in the farm so that I start fresh again. So if you're doing organic farming, get to understand where you're selling these products, how you're selling, what is the pricing model, so that you can make money out of it. Let's jump into something else. Before I move away from actual farming, we talked about something very interesting, crop farming. So you also need to understand your markets really well. What are you growing for where, for which market? Basic things like, for example, I started growing capsicum. And when I did the capsicum, I really wanted to see the big capsicum. So I did all that possible. When I took them to the market, to the normal market, they told me, hey, these ones are too big for this market. So I went around the market and I was seeing some very small, this kind of size of capsicum, and I was like, even me, I can't buy the size of capsicum. So I realized that specific varieties of specific crops give you yield, give you produce that are for specific markets. That's when somebody told me to go to Tri-City Park Market, where you get probably capsicum that is half this size, because of the markets, of the clients that go to that market. Most of them are end users, so that means that then they will be able to take this up very interestingly. So what was very interesting, again, when it comes to fish farming, I can see, allow me to acknowledge, there's Frida catch something, saying something very interesting here. That knowledge is power. Yes, as we say, the information is very powerful, especially in farming. When we were starting farming 16 years ago, there was very little information. In fact, you would know which agronomist to call for specific information those days, because not all of them had the same information. Even getting seeds. I remember I used to go to Lucania Agrovet for so long to get asked questions. Sometimes they used to get bored with me because I know how to ask questions. I can ask many questions. I move from there, I go to another Agrovet, ask so many questions. Sometimes I would ask questions for like 3 hours, but I would make sure I buy something, So Frida here says something very interesting. Frida says, knowledge is power. I remember when I started fish farming without a single knowledge. First harvest was so well. The second one blew me off like a small baby. I lost everything. Very important, very, very true. So as you do your research really well. And again, Frida, go and follow Frida Okech. She'll give you so much information, so many insights about farming, especially in Western Kenya. I have never visited Frida. We are planning to visit Frida. I know Frida will be coming to visit you very soon. So now let me slowly move from the actual farming into now other opportunities that are there. But we've also said things like beekeeping. We'll come back to beekeeping about that. Agri-tourism. This is a very interesting opportunity. On Thursday, we'll be visiting with one of my mentors. We'll be visiting one of locations that is almost like an agri-tourism destination that is owned by Fred Obachi Machoka. And this is a very interesting thing. So what does agri-tourism look like? So agri-tourism is basically when you offer your farm for tours. You can have some meals prepared there. farm stays where people can come and live on the farm, probably even work on the farm, do some activities on the farm. Something also interesting, they get to learn about any agricultural themed activities on the farm. Very interesting opportunity for you to be able to tap into that. So when you're doing this, when you're preparing a farm, when you are doing activities on the farm, don't just farm for the sake of farming. Have that in mind. Could I offer or open up my farm for people to come and learn more, for people to even stay? Probably you have a place where there's really good green grass. You can be able to, people can pitch their tents there, have some activities. People sometimes just want to unwind, to relax. I've done that with my farm also, a Tainer farm. For those who have seen, you can also follow a Tainer farm and just get to see how this is done. It is a very lucrative opportunity in agriculture, without a doubt, because people want to see sometimes where that food comes from. Okay, and there's a good friend of mine called Dominic Orina, and Dominic does 4K clubs. So for your farm also, if there are schools around your farm, this is an opportunity for you to also get in there, understand how do I make sure that I can be able to do this as well. So let us now a little bit move from the traditional lucrative opportunities in the actual farming and look at other opportunities that are out there that you can be able to tap in if you would like to get into agribusiness or agriculture, and see how can you be able to do this in a better way and make some good money. When I talk about good money, I don't mean that no risks. There are risks there, but again, I will insist this for the rest of the show. Capex, OPEX. So for those who are watching, capex is like capital expenses, the heavy expenses that you do, and then the OPEX are just basically the operational expenses that you have to master really well. So very interesting. This is a very interesting scenario where we say that these other opportunities are available. For example, agri input supplies. Things like pesticides, things like fertilizers, things like seeds. You can actually do this from a profitable point of view. So there's regulations for it. So the regulation, for example, to have an agrovet to supply this, there are opportunities that are supposed to. There are things that you have to consider as you do that. So always make sure that you have that in mind when you're actually setting up probably an agri input supply. There are organizations that are out there that would like to have probably dealers or distributors. Go and talk to them, look at the opportunities that are there, especially you as a young person who is in agriculture, who has studied agriculture, probably looking for a job opening. This is an opportunity that you can actually do. Get groups of farmers. Let me tell you guys a secret now here. Get some group of farmers, talk to them, introduce them to what you're doing, give them really good. Sorry, my earpiece is also misbehaving here. Yeah, so get to understand what are they, what are their needs, what are the opportunities that are there for you to be able to support them. Then go and talk to these agro input manufacturers or the bigger distributors. Get to tell them about how this number of farmers that you have, they can be able to give you products at a reasonable price, where you can also make profit. But as you do this, then you're also offering a better service to the farmers. For example, if I was given an opportunity, I would have someone who comes, tells me this is what is happening in the farm, gives me reports, manages the farm properly for me. We can even always share some profits. That is very nice. Farmers would want something like that. If I would want that, very many other farmers would also want that. So that is an opportunity that you can be able to make some revenue out of that. Another opportunity that you also have is slightly bigger. This is now the agricultural equipment leasing, where you have the machinery that is out there. We're seeing a very interesting opportunity that Hello Tractor is actually doing, leasing tractors from people, then hiring them out to farmers. That's a good opportunity. I think I'll also have an opportunity to talk to a friend of mine who is called Dan Mutiso, who does I think vehicle leasing, to get to understand what that looks like. So we'll be sharing more information about this. Then we also saw a very interesting opportunity that Trigger Foods also had where they were encouraging you if you like trucks and stuff like that, you talk to them and they see how they can link you up with some of the providers. This is a very interesting opportunity as well, and because then there's very little expenses that you are incurring, so long as you have a good management system of how that can be done really well. Something else is also the agri-tech solutions that are out there. The agri-tech solutions come in different ways. So this is, you might, what this do, they increase productivity. They improve productivity of within the industry, mostly with smallholder farmers. So if you're looking at these opportunities, make sure you're also targeting smallholder farmers, because we are the ones who are many. So since we are many, it means that automatically then you can be able to do it. You can be able to tap into that. Understand your regions really well. Understand your regions really well, so that you can be able to do that. So agri-tech solutions, it could be designing a website for farmers, designing a website for a certain organization, probably managing their social media pages. It could mean probably things like getting to understand any IoT, Internet of Things solution that are already available there, so that you can be able to tap into that as well. Something else that will be there, which I'll be talking about it after the break. We'll be talking about things like agricultural training and stuff like that, which is a very interesting thing, because when we talk about this, you realize that then there are so many opportunities. This extension service that we'll be talking about, we'll also be talking about in terms of that, and this could be in different ways. I've seen some amazing young people doing some good jobs, things like someone like Farm with Fred, Caleb Karuga, doing some amazing thing, training people. Our friend also, Wangari Farmer on Fire, doing an amazing job training and working with farmers. We've seen some organizations that are doing very good stuff. We'll see if we can have a video from Sinefa, who have actually gone into training locals in deep inside Maasai land in terms of getting to understand the importance of greenhouse farming. And as I mentioned, greenhouse farming, that is another opportunity that is there, that is really lucrative for you to venture in. For example, it could be the construction of greenhouses, it could be repair of greenhouses, it could be management of greenhouses, it could be investing in a greenhouse and growing your crops in it. But you also need to make sure that you understand that particular agribusiness venture in totality. You might not understand everything when you're starting, but if you work with experts, if you keep on tuning to a farmer's media, you'll get to understand so much information that you require for you to be successful. So that when you are doing this, you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. We mentioned snail farming. I don't have understanding about what snail farming is all about. I hear it's now a delicacy in many African countries right now. Let us know in the comment section, or send us a message about snail farming. I've seen some of it happening. I don't even like looking at snails, but it is also, I hear it is also a lucrative opportunity. But again, I say, don't get into something if you don't understand it well. The moment you get into something and you don't understand it really well, you will fail. I'm telling you for sure, without a doubt, from experience, if you get into something, especially an agricultural venture, without at least 50% of the knowledge, you will fail so hard. I have actually seen farmers who have really failed so hard that they've written on their farm, on the gates of their farms, land for sale. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we dive in deeper and understand the remaining bits of it. Remember, this is a Farmer's Breakfast Show.
Smart farmers know savings are important. They can help you through hard times, like when you have poor yields, or help when buying inputs the new season, paying your labor, or if you want to start planting a crop you have not grown before. Work out how much you can afford to save each month. and stick to it. If you can make extra money, add it to your savings. Say, for example, you need 20,000 shillings for the next planting season. Plan to save 5,000 shillings each month for 4 months. Think about where you'll keep the money that you are saving. Bank is a good option. Your money will be safe, and if you keep it there for long, you can make interest. Remember, some bank accounts you have to pay for, so try to find one that's free. Keeping your money on your mobile phone is also good.
Across the sun now. Across the sun now.
Agriculture is 80% of our economy in Kenya. So I can advise them to do agriculture.
Welcome back to Farmers Breakfast Show right here from County 034. Your host Noah Nesieli Kadima. Remember to follow us on our social media handles. Remember to subscribe and turn the notification on our YouTube channel, fresh, and we're coming in fresh and strong, getting to understand and making sure that you as a farmer understands and gets the best out of it. Remember, when we talk about agribusiness opportunities, we are not saying that you cannot make money. We know that you can be able to make money in agriculture. We know that you can be able to get a lot more from agriculture. However, it is very important for us to make sure that whatever we say we are getting is from we are investing in is from a well-informed decision. We have calculated our costings, because business is about costings, business is mathematics, business is economics, business is about savings, business is about all aspects of it, of business will always revolve in and around finances. So if you don't have a good finance background, get someone who can help you with this. And one of the things that we here at Farmers Media would love to start mentioning, it's still being cooked, is the fact that we have someone who will be taking us through, guiding us in how to make sure that you check your finances, how to calculate your costings, your P&L, your profit and loss, so that you can be successful as a smallholder farmer. Now, three specific ways that I want to talk, especially to young people today. So we have seen some ways that you can make money in agriculture. Now I want to talk to a specific group of investors. I will call them investors. I want to talk to two specific groups. The first group I would like to talk to is all the farmers that are doing farming. I was introduced to a certain topic yesterday by my producer. It is silver pasture. It is a term I have never had. I was introduced to it when they were doing a show last week, and this was a very interesting topic that we've always thought about, but we've never thought about it from an investment perspective. So silver pasture is having domestic animals together with crop farming, and also integrating agroforestry in it. So it's an aspect of agroforestry, and that is what I would like to talk about. So this is actually combining tree planting with agriculture, and this way promotes two things, actually three main ways. One, you promote sustainable land use, because then you are protecting the environment. That is very critical. You are reducing the carbon emissions that are harming our atmosphere, that is causing the climate change and the effects of climate change. Something else that you're also doing that is very interesting is that you are diversifying your income sources. But also in and around that, you're also building your soil structure. Remember, areas that have good soil structure, they have some good forest cover. Apart from just the forest cover, it is also something interesting because we are not saying that you are just going to plant these normal trees that we have. We are actually going to start thinking of how to plant specific trees that are fruit trees. So these are food-based trees. So things like mangoes, things like macadamia, things like avocados, things like pawpaws, things like oranges, trees that can be able to make money out of. It is not wrong to plant the normal trees, eucalyptus, I don't even think about it. Things like grevillea, pine, and all that. We've also seen scenarios where these other trees also affect the crops on your farm. So you also need to know when to do that. But I want to talk to this group of farmers that can be able to invest in agroforestry. It is paying, it is very important, but you also need to understand something. So let's talk about avocados first. You need to ask yourself, why am I planting avocado trees in my farm? So you need to ask yourself, is it for value addition? Is it for processing into avocado oil? Is it for exporting? Are you exporting yourself? I've seen an amazing farmer from Karakuta who does a lot of Karakuta is in Kenya, who does avocados, has learned the ropes, has even managed to start exporting themselves. Really, really good stuff. So you need to ask yourself, where am I sourcing my seedlings from? So things like seedlings, don't just source from anyone. I'm not saying the ones on the roadside, also buy some trees on the roadside, but get from a credible certified nursery. We have Calro, who have really good seedlings. You have Grace Rock Gardens in Limuru, who can be able to also give you really good seedlings. We have quite a number across. If we talk about apples, we have a friend of mine. She calls herself Kate, the Wambugu apples ambassador. And in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about it. And we have Isinya roses, where they have the avocado seedlings. So if you look at this from an informed decision, then you ask yourself, what size of the seedlings will I buy? What variety am I buying? How do I take care? How do I even prepare that planting hole for the seedlings? So these are very important decisions that you have to make to understand. So agroforestry, some call it agriforestry, I call it agroforestry. It's very important for you to understand that it is lucrative, it is nice, it is something that can make you good money, but it cannot make you quick money. But it is fantastic for you to have that. I have gone ahead and done I've planted some number of trees. I had not done that for a long while. I just done bananas, so I don't know if bananas are also part of agroforestry. I don't think so. So pawpaws, what you can do is that you need to do your soil test properly. You need to prepare the planting hole for agroforestry and another science on its own. It's not like planting chop and drop, planting maize and beans, and you chance whether they'll survive or not. If they don't survive, it's fine and all that. You also have to make sure that you know the spacing in between the trees, because this is something that will grow within 3 years. That's when you start harvesting. So you don't want them to be so squeezed. You need to have, and then you also need to know what is the spacing. What can you plant in between the trees before they grow big to start providing a lot of shade in the crops. Just the same thing as we talked about when you're doing crop farming. You need to know if it's an acre of maize. If it's 1 acre of maize, how many plants are supposed to be in 1 acre of maize? And if you follow David Nego, I can tell you and share a lot of information about maize farming for you, and you'll really get a lot of information about it. So as you do this, also something else that is very important for you to note is the fact that you need to have your numbers right, so that if you know if I plant 20,000, if an acre requires 20,000 plants of maize, how many have I planted? If an acre requires 20 kilos of beans, how many of those individual seeds germinated? So those are some of the things that you need to look at and do it really well. So the other group of farming investors that I would like to talk about. So not everybody in farming is a farmer. Some of us are just investors in farming. So that either we own a farm by default or we are interested in farming. But once we get into the farming, getting to understand this the technicalities, this is what you're looking at. Those are some of the things to really consider. So palm oil production is something that is very critical. Palm oil production is something that is really interesting. We've seen that there's some debate going on even at really high levels, even within governments, of palm oil production here in Kenya. We've seen some of the palm oil, I think a very huge chunk of the edible oils that we use here in the country are imported. So this could be a great opportunity. So get your phone right, go test your soil, contact Crop Nutrition Laboratory Services, better known as Crop Nuts. Get their contacts, call them, go and take your soil tested, and ask yourself, can I grow edible oils, things like palm oil? It's a really lucrative, and it pays really well. Sunflower is also one of the things that you can also get oil from, for cooking, so packaging and all that. So when it comes to agro processing, those are some of the ways that you can be able to understand things like basic. What does branding of my produce look like? How should I do it and do it really well? Now, if you are a student, if you have graduated from college, you have a certificate or your diploma or your degree in any agri-related courses, take a pen and a paper. This one is for you. I want to talk to you and I want us to discuss about numbers. This is the last two things that I would like to talk about. The last two of the 20 that we've been mentioning is agricultural training and education, agricultural consultancy, digital extension services, the normal extension services, and which we basically term in general agronomic support. So if you are looking for an opportunity, this is where you start. So if you have a degree or diploma or certificate or really advanced knowledge and training or experience and expertise in any agri-related course, this is for you. It's an opportunity right now. The ratio between extension workers and farmers currently standing in Africa is one extension officer to 3,000 farmers. When I was starting farming, it was even better. It was 1,800, and I thought it was alarming. It's now even worse. One of the reasons for this is because the older generation that were offering extension services have started retiring, leaving the stage, and it leaves us with a very huge gap. The training that is being set out is the same training that was being set out a long time ago. So how does this then become a lucrative one, and why do people want to get into it? Very interesting opportunity here, which I have seen some who've perfected and have done really well. So ask yourself, which area are you an expert in? Is it irrigation? Is it in greenhouse construction? Is it in greenhouse management? I'm not talking about the farming aspect now, I'm talking about the management aspect of it. Because when you're managing a greenhouse, you're not just managing the crop inside, you're managing the irrigation system, you're managing the temperatures, you're managing the pests and diseases. So all this, if you combine and you manage them really well, then it makes a very big difference in how you actually do it. So why am I saying that it's a lucrative opportunity? We have done this with a few young people, and as of now, I see them thriving and I see them going to very high lengths. great lengths to succeed. Assuming you then have around, depending on your life goals as well, you get an opportunity to have 30 farmers within a certain radius that you're going to support. Don't even move from here to Loyangalani. Don't move from here to Migori. I know my producer is going to attack me on this one, but don't move from here to Lamu. Don't move. Yes, you can if possible. Yes, you can, but don't go far from where you wake up. So where you wake up, look for 30 farmers around you. So these 30 farmers, there are areas you can get these farmers. Go and talk to a few agrovets around your area. Tell them what you do. Show them what you do. You can have some either business cards or a flyer of what you do. Tell them you would like to support 30 farmers. So each farmer, you do a visit to these farmers. I mean, I used to do 3 visits, and I was not an agronomist then. Now you can. 30 farmers. Make sure you have 30 farm visits every week, which is very possible. So if not, make sure you have 15 every week. We have 5 days. Do 3 visits every day, or every Monday to Friday. So Monday to Friday, you apportion at least minimum of 2 to 3 hours for every farm that you visit. So if you do 15 farm visits every week, and you just simply charge between 500 shillings and 1,000 shillings, depending on the area, depending on the size of farms that these farmers have, depending on the support and expertise that you have. Let us go with 1,000 shillings. This is 15,000 shillings every week. You don't even have a motorbike. You use whatever you're getting to visit these farmers. 30 farmers is probably a radius of 5 kilometers tops, 5, not even 10 kilometers. So this 15,000 shillings, assuming you do this for 3 weeks in a month, not 4 weeks, 3 weeks in a month, you have 45,000 shillings. But don't look at this money first. Look at the service that you're offering. Young people, I am talking to you. This is a great opportunity. If I was young again, this is what I would be doing. So look at basic things like when you're working with this farmer, with these farmers, what do they want? So try and understand the needs of these farmers. Don't go to them to teach them how to grow tomatoes. No. That one, the people who are working in the farms will do it for them. You need to go and talk to them about basic things like scouting on your farm, getting to understand what is on the farm, irrigation system. So it means that the knowledge that you have, then you need to sharpen your skills. Sharpen your skills to offer consultancy services. These 30 farmers, remember you have visited them twice a month. Yeah? So twice a month, make sure when you visit a farmer, you can use some basic tools that are available, inexpensive, they're very cheap, some of them are free of charge, that can even help you generate a report. So one of the things that you can use is something called Kobo Collect. It's a tool that is free of charge. You can actually use this particular tool to do what? To get data about the farms, when you visit a farmer, what you're going to get, what you're doing for them. You can add images. It is a great tool because you can actually use it offline. Once you are online, then it uploads automatically. So this is something that is very, very important for you as a young person in agriculture, having trained either with a diploma, certificate, degree, or experience, because then you can be able to access these farmers. These are just 30. We have 4 point something. We have close to 5 million farmers across the country. We have less than 10,000 extension officers in the country. I'll tell you that without a doubt. So this is a great opportunity. If you have been farming, you are an expert in farming, what then do? You can offer this also as a service. We're not saying that there are no jobs, but if the employment opportunities are not there, where I come from, they fight with bulls fight. Now I'm selling out where I come from. So you take the bull by its horns. You ask yourself, farmers are suffering. farmers, and there are very many places you can get farmers. Go to agrovets, you get farmers who are coming to buy fertilizer and the rest. Talk to the owner of the agrovet, tell them I'd like to support farmers. These farmers who are buying fertilizers and all this. Do you know them? Have you talked to them? Do you know what their problems are, the challenges are? Could you link me up with them? I can visit them and get to understand. The first visit, you can go check them out. It's not expensive. Go check them out, see what they're doing. Make sure you have a proper plan. And one of the things that we here at Farmers Media pride ourselves in is to help you as a young person to be able to get this done right. So if you're watching us, contact us and we'll be able to get more information, give you more information about it. You can contact me as well. I can be able to help you even reach some of these farmers, Understand what this farmer is looking for. Understand the opportunities that are there. Make sure now you're improving the status of this farmer, the status of their farm. Things like, introduce to them things like climate smart agriculture. Basic things. If a farmer has tested soil, contact people like crop nuts. They have data about farmers. Ask them, I would like to offer these services in a certain area. Do you have some farmers? Would you propose me to some of these farmers? This is what I've done in the past. And when you do this, then automatically you are also thinking about the 45,000 shillings, because you say you're approximating between 10 and 15,000 shillings every week visiting different farmers. Don't charge them 3,000, 5,000 shillings. No. Obviously, yes, you consider, I've said you're looking at 3-5 kilometers within your radius. If you can go to a much bigger distance, then negotiate on the price on the cost of transport and upkeep and lunch, and then offer a certain service. It's an opportunity that you're opening up. So you have 30 farmers. You can imagine 30 farmers who rely on you. These 30 farmers are actually going to tell you, this is our needs, this is what we're looking for. Create even a WhatsApp group for those farmers. They will share their frustrations, they'll share their whatever they're going through. Convert that into now an opportunity for you to support. Don't look at it as a way of fleecing these farmers. No. Offer the support. You do not have to know everything. Whatever you know, do it really well. However, when it comes to now the things that you don't know, for example, you get a farmer who wants to set up a fish pond. Okay? You know where to look at. So refer them to somebody. Refer them to somebody who's an expert in doing this. If you're in Siaya and you want to set up a fish farm, or in Eldoret, or in Western Kenya, go talk to Frida Okech. She'll explain to you, this is what you need. She might charge you something small for the knowledge, or she might say, well, let us work together on that project together. You get? The other thing that is also another place you can also get these farmers is the market. When a farmer brings produce to the market, look at the produce. If it's a good standard, see how you can help them improve that, double their yield probably. If the quality is not as good, tell them and explain to them what you can do. Save some money, put on some branding, on what services you're offering, have a business card or a flyer. You as a young person, it is the wrong time for you not to have a job and you have agricultural knowledge. It is not easy for everybody to be self-employed. However, working with a Farmers Media, we can be able to help you even get these farmers. Highlight your stories right here at a Farmers Media. Highlight your experience, what you offer, and stuff like that. So you can comment in the comment section. Reach out to me. Reach out to our Farmers Media, and we can be able to expose you to this industry. When you're doing some of our farm visits, we can always include you and invite you into doing this. So when you are doing this, we're not saying that it's a guarantee that you're going to get 15,000 or 10,000 shillings every week, but it's going to be a start. So assuming worst case scenario, you have 10 farmers. 10 farmers, and you charge them 1,000 shillings for the expert knowledge, apart from over and above the transport and all that. So this is 10 farmers. You visited, probably charging them something like 1,000 shillings per visit. That's 10,000 shillings. So 10,000 shillings, farmers want people there regularly. So ask yourself, what are the times that a farmer needs my expertise? This is the time for planting. This is the time for transplanting. This is the time for fertilizer application, probably irrigation system setting up and stuff like that. Things like understanding crop management, crop nutrition challenges that are already there. Remember, you also use a tool like Kobo Collect where you're digitizing your data, you're digitizing your visits. So at the end of the week, you can just print the report, send it over to a farmer. You're working every day visiting these farmers within a radius of 5 kilometers. When you get, assuming you get worst case scenario 10,000 shillings per week, yeah. If you do that for 4 weeks, that is 40,000 shillings. They are all you already have your own expenses that you're going to deduct and all that. But also then ask yourself, can I then invest in a motorbike? You know, can I invest in a motorbike so that then instead of just 3 kilometers, I can reach or 5 kilometers, I can reach probably 6 kilometers, probably 7 kilometers. Instead of doing 2 hours, I mean 3 farm visits a day, can I increase to 4? Because since I have a motorbike, I can reach the next farmers easy, faster. Talk to these farmers that you're servicing, giving them proper service. Talk to them. They will invite you to even talk to farmers. Conduct smaller trainings of these farmers together. Then that way you can be sharing your knowledge and getting something out of this. So for those who've been watching, this has been an amazing morning, talking about 20 opportunities in agribusiness. We've talked about you as a farmer, the crops that you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to, what you need to consider, you know, basic things like what quantity of maize seeds that you should be there. I was promised that I will be a guest in the mid-morning show. I am not sure if I'll be there. I will be talking more about maize farming. And you get to understand, talk to the experts, but when talking to the experts, don't talk to experts who don't have experience. Remember that. Talk to experts who have experience. You as a young person, we've seen opportunities that you can be able to do this, to get more information. You've seen opportunities that you can be able to make money from your farm as an agronomist, somebody who studied agriculture. You have a certificate, you have a diploma, you have a degree, you have some expertise, you have some experience in agribusiness. We have actually seen the dedication that the president has actually put and what his goals are for agriculture. Tap into that. If you're an agronomist right now, you should be able to tell us where we can get this affordable fertilizer. And apart from that, if you're an agronomist right now and you would like to reach farmers, you'd like to be trained on how to manage farms, how do you like to market your own services, talk to us. In the next few days, we'll be introducing something called Agri Innovation Labs for you young people who have studied agriculture, who would like to perfect their skills, who would like to showcase their skills to the outside world. So keep it locked here. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channels. Remember to keep it farmers for you to be able to connect, learn, and grow. I want to leave you with a statement that I want to share with you. It is said, before you find what you want, make the most of what you find. Do it with all your might and mind. Do it well. You survive by working. You impact by working hard. This has been a Farmer's Breakfast Show. See you tomorrow, same time. But keep it locked. Following in a few more minutes, you will be able to watch our mid-morning show, which is going to be a brilliant discussion today. And for those who have made this possible, from my director, Doreen, to my producer, Mary, this has been an amazing time, and thank you for making it possible. For those who've been watching, this has been an amazing morning. See you tomorrow like any other morning, right here from a Farmers, where we help you connect, learn, and grow. See you tomorrow.
Across the sun now, across the sun now, valley.
Agriculture is 80% of our economy in Kenya. So I can advise them to do agricultural courses.
They take the agriculture courses.
Yeah, they take the agricultural courses.
Iko pesa.
Iko pesa.
Oh, umeona pesa. Lakini unajua wewe ni mwana biashara bana.
Yeah. Iko pesa.
Make a date with me every Monday to Friday, 7:15 to 9:15 in the morning here at the Farmers Media, the breakfast show. Let us start the day right here. This is Noana Sia.
Smart farmers know savings are important. They can help you through hard times, like when you have poor yields, or help when buying inputs the new season, paying your labor, or if you want to start planting a crop you have not grown before. Work out how much you can afford to save each month and stick to it. If you can make extra money, add it to your savings. Say, for example, you need 20,000 shillings for the next planting season. Plan to save 5,000 shillings each month for 4 months. Think about where you'll keep the money that you are saving. Bank is a good option. Your money will be safe, and if you keep it there for long, you can make interest. Remember, some bank accounts you have to pay for, so try to find one that's free. Keeping your money on your mobile phone is also good.